Hey everybody, welcome to the Jaywalker. Today, I'm standing on the banks of the Snake River. Runs through southern Idaho. Right now, I'm in Burley, Idaho, across the river from Hayburn, where our story takes place. Today, Ghost Story for a Saturday, episode 7, but today, not in a cemetery, it's not a personal story, it's a legend from my hometown. Let's take a walk. So, I am trying to call up this story from my memory, from the story that I'd heard, back in the mid-90s as a teenager. So the story today is that on the banks here of the river, across the river from where I currently stand, back 100 years or more ago, there stood a house. And in that house, there was a newly married couple. The wife, who was still really young, had grown up fairly close to the river, and one of her favorite pastimes, even in her newly married life, was to take strolls along the river, especially at dusk and at twilight. And it was on one of those twilight strolls that she didn't come home. And the next morning, thinking that she had maybe stopped off at a friend's and decided to stay the night because it was dark and it wasn't good for her to be out alone, her husband thought that maybe she just stopped, stayed the night, but when she hadn't come home the next morning, he got worried. Got the authorities involved, and it was still a few days before they found her body a few miles downstream along the river. This river, the Snake River, is where they found her body. And the authorities determined at that time that she committed suicide. There was no signs of trauma, no gunshots, no stab wounds, nothing that would suggest that there was any foul play. But they decided and made the determination that she had committed suicide. And by that, and with that determination, she was unable, according to the law at the time, and the bylaws of the cemetery, which is also across, just very close. It's called the Riverside Cemetery over in Hayburn. That they determined that because she had committed suicide, or because that was the determination, she wasn't able to be buried in the cemetery. So her husband, in the hopes that one day he'd be able to change those laws and those customs, kept her body in a trunk in the closet of his home. I know it's weird, but that's the story. This is the legend that I know. And years later, still with her in the trunk, he worked tirelessly to try and get those laws changed to be able to have her buried there, to give her a proper burial in the cemetery. And along these years, there was a fire that ravaged through their house. Took out the house, took the husband's life, and also destroyed the trunk in which he had kept her body for so many years. And the story also says that eventually when they found the pieces of the trunk, her body wasn't there anymore. So because she wasn't able to be buried in the cemetery and get that proper burial that her husband felt she deserved, the legend is that she still haunts along the river. That you may see her in a white dress walking along the river. Part of the same legend also says that people have seen her walk across a very busy highway that runs here across the river from the cemetery going over to where a potato processing plant now stands. And along with that, many people have not only seen her, but described actually hitting her as they've been driving. So she'll come, the spirit darts out across the road to where they're not able to stop, and they'll hit her, pull off, only to find no one there. And it's happened to multiple people. Multiple people at the same time, and multiple people in the same night, and multiple times to the same people. And it's usually around the time that it is now at filming, around dusk, around twilight. Thank you for joining me on the Jaywalker. It's a fun legend to dig into and to retell. I've never seen her. I hope to someday see her at some point, but I haven't yet. Join me on another Jaywalk soon. Thanks for joining me tonight. Now, if you like what you see, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and above all, share it with your friends. We'll see you soon.